How you doing, my friends? Hope everybody's doing well out there, wherever you're at in the world. Me, I'm just sitting here, back deck, just chilling out. A little raining today, but it's a beautiful day, beautiful afternoon. Just chilling under these trees, enjoying the sounds of, well, nature. A few cars driving by, planes flying over, birds chirping. So my last video got a little dark on me. So I figured I'd get an early start out today talking to the camera, so it don't get too dark. But what I'm talking about today is visions in color, dreams in black and white. So I just start by asking the question, when you dream, do you dream in color or black and white? And I just did a little research and realized that, well, statistics vary, but basically they're saying that these days most people report dreaming in color. Whereas like college students, back in the 30s and the 40s, it was like 75% reported that they dreamed in black and white. And another stat said that anybody over 55 typically reports that they dream in black and white. And it had to do with the fact that television was initially black and white, and then it went to color. So obviously these days all your screens are in color, so most people, at least according to the articles, report that they dream in color. So why am I talking about this? So I don't even know where to start, but basically I've always dreamed in black and white. You could say black and white, you could say grayscale. I never dream in color. I'm not colorblind. I can see colors just fine. As a kid growing up, I did watch black and white TVs initially, back in the 70s, so maybe that has something to do with it if you correlate that to the articles that I read. But basically the reason that all this popped into my head, it has to do, believe it or not, with quitting drinking and going on these check rides. Now back in, I think it was 2015, I wrote this article. It's on my website, and it was called "If You Quit Drinking, Watch Out for the Burning Bush." And I wrote that article because I had went on a check ride from partying and the booze and everything. And the fourth night, I read the article for the exact details, but basically the fourth night I woke up, and over in the corner of the room next to the bed, there was like this, it was like a sort of like a tornado of flames. It's a combination of looking like flames slash like tribal art slash barbed wire. It's like a vortex, turning counterclockwise. It was like 5 feet in diameter from the ceiling to the floor, and it was just turning like real slow. And so when I got up, my old lady at the time was laying in the bed. This isn't wife number one. This is like 2, 3, 4, 5 chicks ago, but had a chick in the bed. She was sleeping, and so I looked over at this thing and I was just staring at it. And at first I thought, well, you're dreaming. Then I said, no, motherfucker, you're wide awake. You're standing up. You're in the room. And so I started to wake the old girl up, and say, hey, look at that shit. And I said, no, motherfucker, you're hallucinating. You can call it hallucinations because if you see something that's not there, I guess by definition it's an hallucination. But you could also say it was a vision. So I stood there, I watched it. Wasn't like I was scared or anything like that. I was just like, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And it was silent. There was no noise. It's absolute silence with just, this vortex of art. I mean, I call it a tornado, but it was just a slow moving vortex. It was like a combination of looking, I don't know, like you would come up with northern lights or a nebula, something like that. But it was impressive, and it was so real. It was just there. So I watched it for a while, but I had to take a piss. That's when I woke up. So I went into the restroom, took a piss, washed my face. I came back out. It was gone. But it was so real that, I don't know, it was surreal. It was so realistic, but it was so beautiful. I just chalked it up. Holy shit, that's the effects of, not drinking. Of, I've been partying for years, and then all of a sudden I just quit. So I just kind of laughed it off, But obviously never forgot it because of the realism. So then fast forward, that's the only time in my life that's ever happened that I recall. So then fast forward to last January. So this is 5 years later, but January. When I got sick and I got put in the fucking bed for 5 days. What I think was COVID-19, but I pulled a fast. And when I pulled a fast, I didn't have anything to eat, didn't drink any beer. And so a couple nights into that, I don't remember exactly what night, I was laying in bed, but I was awake. Just couldn't sleep. I was sitting there, I was awake. And with my eyes closed, like all of a sudden from grayscale, it goes to just absolute, I don't want to say a kaleidoscope, but it was very vivid colors with geometric shapes. There were mathematical equations. There were like gears turning. I don't know if you've ever taken any type of cognitive test, but they're just testing you for basic mechanics. If a gear turns this way, which way should this one turn? And there will be 8 more gears, and you got to basically say, okay, you apply logic and mechanics, which direction does the gear on the end turn, that type of thing. So I'm sitting here laying in bed, just eyes closed, nothing but grayscale. Next thing you know, all these colors are just flashing before my eyes. Now there's a difference between, for me, there's a difference between recalling something that you've seen. So if I take this yellow piece of paper right now and I close my eyes, I'm still looking at a grayscale, but I can tell you, okay, that piece of paper was yellow based on previous memories. But in this particular incident in January, it wasn't a recollection. It was like the burning bush, the vortex, where I wasn't in control of this. It was like another vision. But in that particular case, geometric shapes are forming. Everything's in color. The background is a different color than the shapes, the writing. There's mathematical equations, being calculated. And I'm not smart enough in math to tell you if they're correct or not. The smaller ones seem to be correlating correct. The gears seem to be turning in the right direction. And you've got all these geometric shapes with these angles and degrees, and like I was looking at a combination of the stock market and tickers and graphs and charts, along with a drafting table. It was weird, but it was so magical because all this stuff was happening. I was awake. It was in vivid color, and I had no control over it. Now, back to talking about dreams. Like sometimes in my dreams, if I'm having a dream and I wake up, I fall back asleep, the dream will sort of continue on. But with these visions, I'm not in control of any of it. They just show up. They take on their own path that basically has nothing to do with seemingly anything in my life. And then they disappear in their own time frame. And no matter how hard I try, I can't conjure it back up. So that's what happened on that incident. And you know, after 30 seconds, a minute, however long it lasts, it just went away. That was it. So I said, holy shit, you know, this is another time during stopping the drinking, stopping the partying, and just getting off the booze cold turkey that this has happened. Okay, whatever. So like fast forward to last night, right? I go on check rides off the booze whenever I want to. Most of the time nothing's just nothing. It's nothing happens to me. I just really sort of get bored. I miss the taste of beer. I miss the taste of Jack Daniels. But nothing happens. But I guess yesterday was 10 days since I had a drink. You know, I just fucking quit about 10 days ago. So last night I'm laying in the bed trying to go to sleep. Eyes closed, perfectly awake. All of a sudden here comes the color. It just goes from grayscale to color, just starts developing like I'm staring into the northern lights or a nebula. And then after the color appears, it was like sort of like the previous thing where all of a sudden geometric shapes, numbers, calculations, all these things start going on at once. You know, like gears turning. It all has to do with mathematical equations, which you know, I'm a creative writing type of person. I can spell, I can write. I can't do math. I'm not a mathematical person. Only math, you know, like any algebraic equation I could do is if a 12 pack of Bud Light costs this and a 15 pack of Natural Light is this, find the unit cost and which one is better and the percentage. I can do simple beer math, that's about it. So for like these visions to have mathematical equations in them is definitely strange. You know, has nothing to do with my traits or natural ability to do anything. I'm not a math person. I know how to create a spreadsheet where the spreadsheet will do the math for me, but I can't take an equation in my head and work it out. But last night when I'm sitting there awake, basically seeing this, it's not a recollection. It's not a recollection of a memory. I'm not asleep. I'm not dreaming. It's in color, and I'm seeing these seemingly complex equations, you know, just flash through my head. And again, it lasted about 30 seconds, somewhere in there. And after it was done, I did my best. Well, after it went away, I did my best to try to keep it going, to try to bring it back. Can't do it. Absolutely, no matter what I thought, how hard I looked, it just went away. So anyhow, that's 3 times. I would call that a vision, because a dream, you know, a dream for me is in black and white. It can be continued if I fall back asleep. Does continue, usually based on something that is either related or loosely related to a past event, something that I've been a part of or thought about. But these visions really have nothing to do with anything that I'm interested in or really have done or am good at. So it went away. Couldn't bring it back no matter how hard I tried, but it was so clear. And it's like I'm looking at all the stuff going on right there. So what's the point of this video? I have no fucking clue. Does there have to be a point? So 3 things, like recalling a memory versus dreaming versus visions. Let's see. Already talked about that. Oh, so my buddy was telling me. Now let me throw this disclaimer out there, folks. I don't do drugs. I've never been into drugs. I'm a drinker. That's my vice. Always been my vice. Not apologizing for that, but I don't I've never been in the dope scene, so I don't know that side of, you know, getting drunk, getting high. Never done drugs. I understand their effects because one time in the hospital, I think they hit me with 10 milligrams morphine and 10 Valium at the same time, and it put me on another planet. I understand how it works. But as far as illicit drugs, that's not my cup of tea. So with all that said, I had a buddy, he's like 82 years old, telling me one time about his first trip on LSD back when he was a teenager or whatever, going to college. And he was saying that the first thing that happened to him was that he could see all the dust particles in the air. And he's, he's telling this story, and he said, there are dust particles all around us, and most of it you can't see. But he said, once I started tripping, I could see all of these dust particles, and they were so colorful and they were so beautiful, but they were real. It wasn't imagined. I could see them, and they came on with a different color. And what he was telling me is that, again, I'm not condoning it. I'm just telling you that it was truly an expansion of his thoughts. It really expanded what he could see, what he could think about, and all that stuff. I don't know, because I ain't never done fucking LSD, and shit scares the hell out of me. But when I've had these three little visions, I just always reflect back to what he was telling me, about his trip on LSD when he was a kid back in the, 60s, 70s, whatever the hell it was. So I just thought I would share that. A lot of people here on my channel, you're drinkers, and I've had some messages, emails come my way about people being in a situation where they drink too much, and I talk about these check rides, and half of everybody out there thinks I'm a fucking alcoholic. You can think what you want, but it is just kind of interesting that all three of these incidents happened when I went on a check ride, stopped drinking. That's the only strange thing about it that's really ever affected me. So, I just wonder if I go back to drinking, then do another check ride, will it happen again? Hell, I don't know. I don't know, folks. I just thought I'd share that with you. So maybe you never thought about it. A, do you dream in black and white? Or B, do you dream in color? And is there a correlation if you're 50, 55 and up, and you started watching black and white TV as a child, as these statistics say? That's the good thing about YouTube. You can pose a question, people can leave immediate feedback down in the comments whether you're telling the truth or not. But it would just be interesting, because I do have a lot of older subscribers here on the channel, and I'm just wondering what the numbers are, the stats of that simple little mystery in life. Folks, that's all I got to share. Maybe you've never had a vision, you've never had an hallucination. I guess by definition, a vision, if you see it, could be considered an hallucination. If you think it would be a delusion. If you're spiritual, then you would term it neither. Either way, the mind's a powerful thing. There's so many mysteries about it that we as humans haven't unlocked yet. So I just thought I'd share that. 3 visions during my hiatus, my check ride from drinking booze, from the partying. I mean, hell, if I could dream like that all night, well, what an exciting nights of sleep I would have. I'd probably wake up exhausted as hell because it was just so magical and exciting. But I'll take them 30 seconds on 2 occasions in that burning bush. and who knows what it means. You know, people like Tesla, Einstein, all these great geniuses, so many different ways and theories that people have about why they were so smart. You know, and Tesla said that he could do research and development in his head. That's what gave him the edge, was that he didn't have to, if he had an idea for a motor, he didn't have to go construct this electric motor and run all the tests and the research on it, because he could take that motor, design it in his head, build it in his head, and do the research and development all in his head. So by the time he got done with the R&D in his brain, basically doing the computing, then he could go out and build the motor or whatever project he was working on with a certain degree of confidence that it worked. I'm not saying I'm Tesla. I'm just making a point that, you know, the mind's a powerful thing, and I think most of its capabilities we don't know how to use. It's suppressed. But when I'm looking at all those mathematical equations and those gears turning, it appeared to be mathematical logic, which I'm not good at. But as this shit was coming across the screen, it seemed like, wow. But after it was over, like last night, I tried to do, like, you know, I threw some numbers in my head, like, you know, 262 times, you know, 84. Couldn't pull it off with this equipment. Just couldn't do it. Alright, folks, that's today's discussion. You know, here on my channel, you never know what I'm going to talk about. If you're not a subscriber, hey, right down there. No, is it right down there? Yeah. Bottom right hand corner of your screen. Hit that little graphic, that little subscribe graphic, and hit the bell. And I'd appreciate it. Appreciate everybody being here on my channel. Thanks for all the comments on that last video. I'm going to talk about that later, but thanks for everybody who weighed in. Yeah, it was good stuff. I can't say I read every one of those, but I read probably over 600, 700 comments. So thank you very much for weighing in on that last video. And I'm going to talk about that in a separate video. Because not only for me was it a learning experience listening to your input and what you would do and what you have done, and people who are in my situation, you know, having kids in another country. It was all very educational. So I'm going to talk about that in the next video, because that's a learning experience for anybody who's in that situation or thinking about you know, marrying a girl outside your home country or moving outside your home country. So look for that one coming up. I'll print out some comments so I can talk about specific situations that you guys sent in, and the pros and the cons of where to raise children. Folks, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out. We'll sit here and fire this cigar up with my lighter. Let me show you my lighter here. That's a redneck lighter right there. You know what I mean? That is a redneck lighter. It gets the job done. Hey, 10, 11 days, no booze. I just went in there. I got a brand new bottle of Jack Daniels that I've been saving for a special occasion. But damn, 10, 11 days sober now, whatever the day it is. I'll have to save that and celebrate when I go back to drinking, if I ever do. See you guys on the next one. Peace out, my friends. Have a good evening.